Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about creating art consistently. It seems kind of like a weird thing to talk about because we're artists and we're supposed to always be making art, but as you probably know, that's not always the case. I think it's easy for us sometimes to fall into something called an inspiration trap, which is where we wind up looking for inspiration externally in order to create motivation to make something artistically. I've been there, I'm sure you've been there. It's a form of artist block, I guess, as well as some form of procrastination too. This is not an uncommon thing for artists to experience, but in this video, I want to give you 5 tips to help you get out of that state if you find yourself in it. These 5 tips hopefully will also get you into the habit of creating art more consistently overall, whether you're in some sort of artist trap or not. So when I was in art school, I actually got some really great advice from a teacher of mine. And she said that we should shoot to have enough art every 6 months so that we could create a brand new portfolio. I thought that that was a really great tip, and it's something that actually still sticks with me today. Every 6 months or so, I like to check in and see how far I've come as an artist, how much work I've produced, have I developed, have I been trying new things. This allows me to sort of gauge my process and to see how I want to continue in the next 6 months. So as you can see, waiting around for any kind of external inspiration isn't going to really help you create work consistently. I'm always reminded of a really great quote by the artist Chuck Close. He said, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work." And that's sort of a quote that I keep in the forefront of my mind as a working professional. It helps me kind of get through those tough times where I feel as though I might be a little bit stuck and kind of waiting for something to get me going. Aside from just that quote, hopefully these 5 tips that I'm about to share with you will help you better create more art consistently and further your development as an artist. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so tip number 1 is to set a goal and make plans according to that goal. So if you want to really make a certain amount of art within a 6-month period of time, for instance, break that goal down into smaller goals. How many pieces or works of art do you need to create per month, per week, per day in order to achieve that overall goal? When you're first starting out, it's very common for you to have other obligations like a job outside of whatever art profession you're working towards. So it's very important to allocate that time, whether it's in the morning or at night. At least you'll know how much time you need to invest in order to achieve these goals. So a few years ago, I was getting into the habit of using Post-it notes and lists everywhere. My workspace was pretty much overwhelmed by Post-it notes and lists all over the place. And I found it to be really helpful because it was a constant reminder to me of my goals. I couldn't help but look at it. And also it was very satisfying to cross these things off of my list as I started to accomplish them. So the physical nature of pen and paper lists are actually really helpful. Over the course of time, I've gotten a little bit more digital, and now I set goals for myself on my phone. I set reminders and alarms, and these do the same thing in a way because they'll go off in the middle of the day and then remind me that I need to focus on whatever it is that I want to focus on. So it doesn't really matter whether you choose lists or something a little bit more digital. The point is to remind yourself constantly of these goals so that you don't forget, because even though we set these longer term goals, we can easily get distracted by other things. And even me now as a working professional, I might very well get distracted by certain jobs that I'm working on that might take me away from certain passion projects that I want to continue making progress in. So that's a really simple one, just making goals and sticking to those goals. That alone can help you get out of some sort of funk. So for an illustrator just starting out, a common question might be, how do I put out consistent work when I'm not getting hired consistently? My answer to that would be that your output of work shouldn't necessarily be contingent on how much work you're getting hired to make. So whether you're just starting out, a student still in school, or a busy working professional, making self-initiated art is super important for an artist. It'll help you develop your style, your creativity. You also might land on some ideas that were unexpected. And for a lot of artists, their self-initiated work tends to become their strongest work, and sometimes it's the work that actually gets them noticed. So if you're an aspiring illustrator looking to get more work, assign yourself the type of jobs that you want to be hired to do. So perhaps you can illustrate articles that haven't been illustrated. You can illustrate covers to classic books or your favorite novel. Write and illustrate your own short comic book story. The list goes on, but the point is to be your own art director and hire yourself to do some really awesome projects. Most of the time when I see older work of mine, I cringe at the sight of it. I think most artists can relate to that. However, some of those older ideas might have some value to them. Sometimes when I'm digging through older work, I notice things that I kind of lost touch with, maybe some sort of imaginative qualities that I either forgot about or grew out of or whatever. And over the passing of time, looking back, I noticed that there might be some interesting stuff there. So looking at an older piece, for instance, with fresh eyes, I might be able to take some of the skills that I've acquired since then and create something new and interesting out of it. Whether you just redraw an old piece or use an old idea as a jumping off point for a new illustration, it might be a really interesting exercise to dive into some of that older work and tap into some older ideas that might have been strong, but you didn't have the skills back then to execute them properly. Also diving into old sketchbooks, unfinished ideas that you might have abandoned a long time ago. When a certain amount of time has passed and you forgot about some of these ideas, it's almost like free ideas. And when you're stuck and find yourself in some sort of artist block, I feel like going back into older work and older sketchbooks and just thumbing through some of that stuff can really inspire new ideas. So recreating old work is a tip that I definitely recommend, especially if you find yourself in some sort of inspiration trap or artist block or anything like that. So definitely give that one a try and let me know how it goes. As artists, some of us tend to have certain themes that inspire us and tend to show up in our work over time. And sometimes some of these themes might be best explored as a type of series in a way, creating a group of pieces that work together within this one theme. So it can be just a collection of individual pieces that share a common theme, or perhaps it's a collection of images where a certain narrative might run through them. Maybe you have an ultimate goal that these pieces might be really well suited as a show in a gallery somewhere, or they might be collected in some sort of self-published book or something like that. So if you're not a comic book artist per se, but you do want to tell some sort of loose narrative through illustration, this might be something to explore. Think of famous artists throughout history like Degas and his ballerinas, or Georgia O'Keeffe and the flowers. These themes that they were exploring created such an abundant amount of art over the years. This could be no different from you and the themes that interest you. So maybe you can make a list of themes, things that inspire you, things that you tend to like to draw. And the next time you find yourself stuck, you can go back to that list and see if there's anything there that might inspire you to make some new and exciting art. I know I have certain themes that I tend to revisit, and when I'm not working on something client-based and when I'm stuck and kind of feel like I'm out of ideas, I always go back to those certain themes that excite me the most. I know we all have certain things that we'd love to draw and certain things that really interest us, so maybe you can pull some of those things into your art if you're feeling stuck. Okay, so we got one more tip left, and the last tip that I have for you is to make someone a really awesome gift. Pick someone really special to you, whether it's a family member or a friend or whomever, and make something really, really awesome that they're going to want to put on their wall. That little bit of pressure in really wanting to impress this person can be the right kind of fire to inspire you to create something really awesome. This also tends to kill two birds with one stone, because sometimes you don't have enough money to buy someone a really cool gift, but you can make them something awesome. And I know with myself, anytime I get something that was like made by someone, it's better than anything anyone could have bought me anyway. So you'll not only really give someone something that they love, but in the process, you will earn yourself a really great piece that you created, which can also serve as a brand new portfolio piece or promotional piece or whatever. So again, if you're stuck, this is another excuse to kind of get yourself thinking in a different way. When you think about someone else, you might think about what they really like or what they might really want to put on their wall. And that might inspire some ideas that you wouldn't have thought otherwise. So for me personally, I know over the years I've done Christmas gifts and Mother's Day gifts and birthday gifts, drawings that I've made. So this has helped me in the past, and maybe it'll help you too. When we were kids, I think we were all doing this anyway, right? We were making cards for people. So now that we're adults and we're building up our portfolio and our work, this is a little bit more of a sophisticated version of that. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my 5 tips for creating new work consistently and getting yourself out of the inspiration trap. Obviously, there's tons of other tips in addition to this, but these are the ones that I've actually used over the years being an artist myself, and these have definitely helped me. So I thought I'd share them with you, and hopefully they help you. If any of these ring true to you and you decide to test them out, I'd love to hear how it went for you. Definitely comment down below, come back to this video later on, and let me know how it went. If you'd like me to elaborate on any of these ideas a little bit more, comment down below and I'll definitely do so there. So that's all I got for now. Thanks so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video. Take care.